Blood trailed across the polished floor in a thin red line, disappearing beneath the half-closed doors of the restricted VIP corridor. Nancy Cole saw it while pushing a medication cart past the East Wing junction, and every instinct in her body told her something was terribly wrong. She stopped so suddenly the wheels squealed. "No one enters there without clearance," a junior orderly warned from behind her. Nancy ignored him. She crouched, touched the blood with 2 fingers, then looked up sharply. "Fresh. Call security. They already monitor that hall. Then call them again." She shoved the door wider and rushed inside. The corridor was silent, expensive, private, designed for people rich enough to hide their illnesses. 10 steps in, she found a man collapsed near the wall, one hand pressed weakly against his abdomen. Blood soaked through his shirt. His lips were turning blue. "Sir, can you hear me?" His eyes flickered once, then rolled back. Nancy dropped to her knees. No, stay with me." She checked pulse, thready, breathing shallow, massive blood loss. She hit the emergency wall panel, access denied. "Of course," she muttered. She looked around. No staff, no response, no cameras visible. The orderly had stopped at the entrance. "Nancy, don't touch him. That floor is sealed." "He's dying." "You need authorization." She turned on him with blazing eyes. "Then authorize this." She yanked the crash alarm cover open and manually triggered a trauma code. Sirens burst through the corridor. The orderly stumbled backward. "You're finished." "Maybe. Bring me gauze." She tore open the patient's shirt. Deep stab wound, another slash across the ribs. Whoever had attacked him meant business. "Sir, listen to me. You're not dying here." She packed the wound with compresses and began pressure control. The man groaned faintly. "That's it. Stay angry. Anger keeps people alive." 2 nurses appeared at the far end, frozen in shock. "Why are you standing there?" Nancy shouted. "Get a stretcher now." "We can't be here," one said. "You are here now. Move." They ran. Nancy leaned closer. "Can you tell me your name?" The man's lips moved. "What?" A whisper escaped. "Young." Then nothing. She checked the pulse again. Slower. "No. Stay with me." Security officers stormed in first. "Step away from him," one barked. Nancy never looked up. "Unless you're replacing blood volume or doing surgery, be useful and help me. This zone is private property. He's bleeding out on your private property." The stretcher team arrived. Nancy directed every movement. "On my count. Keep pressure here. Head support. Move." As they lifted him, a sharp voice sliced through the corridor. "What is happening here?" Dr. Seo Hyarin approached in heels and a white coat, immaculate and furious. Hospital director. Every employee in Silvercrest knew that tone. The guard straightened immediately. Nancy kept walking beside the stretcher. "Critical trauma. He needs OR access now." Dr. Seo's face hardened. "Who authorized intervention?" "I did." "You had no authority." "I had a patient." Dr. Seo stepped in front of the moving stretcher. "Take him to holding suite 3 until identity confirmation." Nancy stared at her in disbelief. "Holding suite? He needs surgery." "That is not your decision. It became my decision when no one else showed up." The hallway went dead silent. Dr. Seo slowly turned toward security. "Escort Nurse Cole to administration after this patient is transferred." Nancy moved around her and kept pushing the stretcher. "Try stopping me after he's stable." Gasps followed. Inside the trauma bay, she barked orders before anyone else could. 2 large bore IVs type and crossmatch. Prepare intubation. Call surgery now." A resident whispered, "Dr. Keller said he won't take unknown VIP cases without legal clearance." Nancy snapped, "Then tell Dr. Keller liability can pronounce the time of death." The patient flatlined. Everyone froze for half a second. Nancy climbed onto the stool. "Starting compressions." She drove hard, steady CPR into his chest. 1, 2, 3, charge the paddles. "Still waiting for surgeon approval," someone said. "Forget approval." She shocked him once. Nothing. Again. The monitor jumped. Pulse returned. The room erupted into motion. Nancy exhaled once, shaking. Then Dr. Adrian Keller finally entered, gloves half on, expression annoyed more than concerned. "What chaos is this?" Nancy stepped aside only enough to let him near. "Chaos is what happens when surgeons arrive late." He looked at the patient, then at the chart. "No identity, no consent, no liability coverage. He'll sign forms after you save him." Keller's jaw tightened. "You don't speak to me that way. And you don't let people die because paperwork is delayed." Several nurses lowered their eyes. Dr. Keller leaned close. "You are a nurse, not a hero." Nancy met him without blinking. Today that seems to be enough. For a moment, he looked ready to explode. Instead, he turned to the team. "Prep for emergency exploratory surgery." As they rushed the patient toward the operating theater, Dr. Seo reappeared with 2 HR officers. "Nancy Cole," she said coldly, "you are relieved of duty effective immediately." The room stopped again. Nancy laughed once in disbelief. "You're firing me now?" "You breached restricted access, misused emergency systems, endangered hospital exposure, and openly defied executive command. I saved a man. You violated policy." She pulled off her gloves slowly. "Then your policy needs CPR too." A few staff members nearly smiled before catching themselves. Dr. Seo extended a folder. "Hand over your badge." Nancy looked around the room, at frightened nurses, silent residents, a surgeon who said nothing, and doors closing behind the man she had dragged back from death. She unclipped the badge and placed it in the folder. "Keep it," she said. "It never gave me permission to do the right thing anyway." She turned and walked toward the exit with trembling hands, hiding the sting in her eyes. Behind her, whispers spread through the ward. Before this gets wilder, hit like, subscribe, and comment where you're watching from. Nancy kept walking until the automatic doors closed behind her. The second she reached the empty staff corridor, the strength drained from her legs. She leaned against the wall, breathing hard, trying not to cry where anyone could see. 33 years old. Years of trauma shifts, double certifications, endless nights saving strangers, fired in less than 5 minutes. A soft voice came from behind her. "Nancy." She turned. It was Layla, one of the ICU nurses, eyes wide with panic. "You need to leave before security escorts you out." Nancy forced a smile. "That would save me the walk." Layla grabbed her wrist. "Listen to me. They're saying you triggered restricted alarms, entered a sealed corridor, insulted Dr. Keller, and endangered a protected client." "He was dying." "I know." Layla lowered her voice. "Everyone knows." Nancy swallowed. "Then why did nobody help?" Layla had no answer. She pressed a folded paper into Nancy's palm. "Locker room camera times. East Wing entry logs. I copied them before IT locks access." Nancy stared at her. "Why?" "Because one day they'll pretend none of this happened." Nancy's eyes filled. "Thank you." Layla squeezed her hand once, then hurried away. By the time Nancy reached the main lobby, 2 guards were already waiting. "Ma'am, we've been instructed to escort you off the premises." She looked at them calmly. "You watched a man bleed in your corridor." Neither guard met her eyes. Outside, the Dubai heat hit like a wall. Nancy stood on the curb with a cardboard box containing a stethoscope, framed nursing certificate, and half a protein bar from her locker. Her phone buzzed. Mom calling. Nancy answered and immediately regretted it. "Baby, why are you breathing like that?" her mother asked from Chicago. "Long shift." "You only sound like that when you're lying." Nancy closed her eyes. "I lost my job." Silence. Then, "Tell me who I need to pray against." Nancy laughed through tears. "Hospital administration." "Ah," her mother said, "then I'll need stronger prayer." Nancy sat on a bench near the fountain. "I did the right thing." "I know." "You didn't even ask what happened." "You were raised by me. If you're crying and unemployed, you still did the right thing." Nancy covered her face. "Mom, listen carefully. Jobs can be replaced. Character cannot." The call ended just as another number appeared. Unknown. She almost ignored it. "Hello?" This is Human Resources at Silvercrest International Hospital. You are reminded that discussing internal patient matters publicly violates confidentiality agreements. Nancy straightened. You fired me 20 minutes ago and you're threatening me already? We are reminding you of policy. You people love policy. The line disconnected. She stared at the phone in disbelief. Inside Silvercrest, the emergency surgery dragged into its third hour. Dr. Adrian Keller peeled off one glove and frowned. Blood pressure? Still unstable. Who admitted him? Nurse Cole. Keller's jaw clenched again. Of course. The anesthesiologist looked over the drapes. If she hadn't packed the wound, he'd be dead. Keller said nothing. A security official entered quietly and approached the circulating nurse. He whispered something. The nurse's face changed instantly. What? Keller snapped. The nurse swallowed. Sir, they identified the patient. And? It's Jung-Woo Kang. The room froze. Even Keller looked confused for a second, then pale. The Kang group? The anesthesiologist whispered. The nurse nodded. Everyone in the region knew the name. Ports, logistics, technology, private equity, silent investments in hospitals, insurance, infrastructure. A man who rarely appeared in public and never needed to. Keller turned sharply. Why was I not told this immediately? The nurse hesitated. He had no identification on arrival. Keller's eyes narrowed. Find Dr. Seo. Now. Upstairs, Dr. Seo was in a boardroom drafting Nancy's formal termination letter when her assistant rushed in. Director, the patient has been identified. Dr. Seo didn't look up. Then notify billing and concierge. It's Jung-Woo Kang. The pen slipped from her hand. What did you say? Confirmed through biometric security liaison. For the first time in years, color drained from her face. Who else knows? Operating team, security chief. Administration level 2. She stood instantly. No one speaks to media. No one speaks to donors. Lock internal communication channels. And Nurse Cole? Dr. Seo's expression tightened. Irrelevant. But her voice no longer sounded certain. Hours later, Nancy sat in her apartment staring at the copied logs Layla had given her. East Wing corridor access had been disabled for 16 minutes before she arrived. Emergency calls from that zone had been canceled twice before her manual override. Canceled. Someone had known he was there. Her phone buzzed again. This time, Layla was whispering, He's alive. Nancy exhaled hard. Thank God. There's more. What? It was Jung-Woo Kang. Nancy sat upright. No. Yes. Administration is panicking. Nancy looked at the logs in her hand. Layla. Why was corridor access disabled? I don't know. Find out nothing. Don't touch anything else. You think this was deliberate? I think a bleeding billionaire was left alone in a sealed hallway. Layla went silent. At midnight, in a private ICU suite surrounded by armed security, Jung-Woo Kang opened his eyes. Machines beeped steadily. Pain hit him first, then memory in broken flashes, dark hallway, footsteps behind him, a sharp strike, collapse, voices fading. A doctor moved closer. Mr. Kang, can you hear me? He ignored the doctor and looked toward the nearest guard. How long? 12 hours, sir. Who treated me first? The guard hesitated. An emergency nurse. Name. Nancy Cole. Jung-Woo's voice was weak but sharp. Where is she? No one answered. His eyes shifted slowly from face to face. That means something happened. The doctor cleared his throat. Sir, focus on recovery. Jung-Woo stared at him until the man looked away. Then he spoke one sentence that changed the atmosphere of the room. Bring me every name of everyone who touched this case. The guard nodded immediately. Jung-Woo closed his eyes again. And find Nancy Cole before they do. If you're already feeling the pressure build, hit like, subscribe, and comment whether Nancy should fight back or walk away, because by morning, Silvercrest's lies were already starting to crack. By sunrise, rumors moved faster than elevators. Nurses whispered in supply rooms. Residents exchanged screenshots in stairwells. Security officers suddenly forgot how to make eye contact. Silvercrest International Hospital still looked polished from the outside, but inside, fear had begun to spread like smoke. Nancy woke after barely 2 hours of sleep to non-stop notifications. Missed call. Leela, missed call, unknown number. Missed call, unknown number. Then a text from a former coworker. Did you know the patient was Youngwoo Kang? Nancy threw the blanket aside and sat up. This cannot be real. Another text arrived. Administration is deleting logs. She called Layla immediately. Layla answered in a whisper. I can't talk long. Are they really deleting records? Yes. IT was ordered to wipe corridor access reports and alarm cancellations. Nancy's stomach turned. Save everything you can. I already sent copies to a private drive. Nancy blinked. Layla, I'm tired of watching cowards win. Before Nancy could respond, another voice barked in the background. Phone's away. Layla hurriedly said, Be careful, and disconnected. Nancy stared at the wall. Fired yesterday. Now evidence tampering. Her phone rang again. Unknown number. She answered cautiously. Hello? This is Park Jun-seok. The voice was calm, controlled, unmistakably authoritative. I'm sorry, who? Mr. Jungwoo Kang's chief of security. Nancy stood immediately. I need 10 minutes of your time. I don't think that's wise. It is if you want the truth. She hesitated. How did you get my number? You're not difficult to find, Nurse Cole. That sentence was not comforting. A brief pause, then, almost politely, Fair point. He named a quiet cafe across town. Public place. Noon. Nancy nearly refused. Instead, she asked, Is he alive? Yes. Then I'll be there. At Silvercrest, Dr. Seo Hye-rin stood in a conference room facing senior administrators. We maintain one message, she said sharply. Emergency protocols were followed appropriately. A board member frowned. Then why was a nurse terminated during a live trauma event? Insubordination. Why was corridor access disabled? Technical issue. Why did Dr. Keller delay intervention? Dr. Seo's eyes narrowed. Dr. Keller did not delay anything. The board member slid a tablet across the table. Someone had leaked timestamps. Alarm triggered, 8:14 p.m. surgical arrival, 8:32 p.m., 18 minutes. Dr. Seo's throat tightened. Where did you get this? Investors are asking the same question. Across the city, Nancy arrived early at the cafe and chose a seat facing the entrance. Park Jun-seok entered exactly at noon. Dark suit, straight posture, no wasted motion. The kind of man who noticed exits before greetings. He sat across from her. You look disappointed, Nancy said. I expected someone taller, he replied. She almost laughed despite herself. He placed a folder on the table. Mr. Kang asked me to thank you. I didn't save him for gratitude. He assumed that. Nancy folded her arms. Then why am I here? Park opened the folder. Photos, hallway stills, security timestamps, internal messages. One message read, Hold response until authorization confirmed. Nancy's jaw tightened. They left him there. It appears so. Why? We are investigating. She looked up sharply. Who attacked him? Park's expression did not move. Also under investigation. Nancy pushed the folder back. Then what do you need from me? The truth. Every detail. For the next 20 minutes, she told him everything. The blood trail, the denied wall panel, security hesitation, Dr. Seo blocking the stretcher, Keller delaying surgery. Park listened without interrupting, only taking brief notes. When she finished, he asked, Why did you disobey orders? Nancy stared at him. Because he was dying. No concern for consequences? I was concerned he wouldn't have any. Something unreadable passed across Park's face. You understand, he said quietly. Most people calculate risk before acting. Then most people shouldn't work emergency medicine. For the first time, he almost smiled. Back at the hospital, Dr. Adrian Keller stormed into Dr. Sio's office. "You made me operate blind," he snapped. She looked up coldly. "You were paid to operate. You failed to tell me who he was. You failed to act quickly enough." Keller slammed both hands on her desk. "Do not put this on me." She stood. "Then don't leave fingerprints." They glared at each other in silence. Neither noticed the assistant outside the door recording audio on her phone. At the cafe, Park closed the folder. "One more question. Why did you leave quietly?" Nancy frowned. "Quietly? You were publicly humiliated, fired, threatened, yet no lawyer, no media, no statement." She looked out the window. "I'm tired," she said. "I've spent my whole career proving I belong in rooms where less qualified people feel entitled. Yesterday I saved a man and still became the problem. I didn't leave quietly. I left exhausted." Park considered that carefully. Then he said, "Mr. Kang would like to meet you." "No?" His brow lifted slightly. "No? I'm not some reward scene at the end of a movie. This is not a reward." "Good, because I don't need a billionaire to validate me." Park nodded once. That answer will interest him. He stood to leave, then placed a business card on the table. "If you receive threats, call me." "Is that likely?" "It already happened. Your building security camera was disabled for 9 minutes this morning." Nancy's blood ran cold. He walked away before she could speak. That night, Silvercrest's internal server suffered a controlled leak. Anonymous files landed in investor inboxes, regulatory offices, and 3 major journalists. Termination letter time-stamped before Nancy was fired. Suppressed alarms, delayed trauma response, liability first directives. At 11:47 p.m., Dr. Sio's phone began ringing and did not stop. At 11:52 p.m., Keller turned his own phone off. At 12:03 a.m., Nancy's phone lit up with a message from an unknown number. "You were right to act. No signature." She stared at it for a long time. Then another message followed. "Tomorrow will be unpleasant for them." Nancy whispered, "Jungwoo Kang. If this story has you hooked, hit like, subscribe, and comment whether justice should be public or quiet." Morning staff arrived to cameras lined outside the main entrance. Reporters stood behind barriers, speaking into microphones as employees tried to slip past with lowered heads. Headlines rolled across phones and lobby screens. VIP negligence, scandal life-saving. Nurse fired investors, demand answers. Nancy watched it all from her apartment couch, coffee untouched in her hand. Her phone rang. Layla sounded half terrified, half thrilled. "You need to see this place." "I'm already watching." "No, I mean inside. Compliance officers are everywhere. They're taking computers. HR is crying. One of the board members came in personally." Nancy leaned forward. "Dr. Sio?" "In her office since 6. She screamed at 3 people before breakfast." Nancy almost smiled. "And Keller?" "Hiding." "Of course." A knock sounded at Nancy's door. Her body tensed instantly. "Who is it?" "Delivery." "I didn't order anything." A pause. "Message delivery." Nancy opened the door carefully. A woman in a gray suit stood holding a sealed envelope. No logo, no name. "For Nancy Cole." "From who?" "I was paid not to ask." The woman left. Nancy opened it at the table. Inside was a handwritten note. "Do not leave alone today. Use the car downstairs at 10. Trust Park." No signature. She checked the time. 9:41. At 9:58, a black sedan waited outside her building. She considered staying inside. Then she remembered disabled cameras, threats, and bleeding men abandoned in hallways. She got in. Park Jun-suk sat beside the driver. "You people love dramatic entrances," Nancy said. "You people?" he asked. "Secretive rich people." He accepted that. Seatbelt. The car moved. "Where are we going?" "Somewhere safe until the next phase is complete." Nancy stared at him. "You talk like a military briefing." "It helps." She folded her arms. "What next phase?" "Silvercrest leadership is being separated from authority." "That sounds expensive." "It is." At the hospital, Dr. Seo faced a conference room full of board members, attorneys, and external auditors. "This institution will not be blackmailed," she said sharply. An older board chairman replied, "This institution may already be insolvent." She froze. "What?" He slid documents across the table. 3 corporate partners suspended funding this morning. 2 insurers paused, preferred agreements. Regulatory review has begun. Her face tightened. Temporary pressure. "No," he said. "Consequences." Dr. Adrian Keller entered late, visibly angry. "This circus outside is because of leaks," he snapped. "Find the source." One attorney looked up. "We are more interested in the content than the source." Keller scoffed. "I saved the patient." A compliance officer opened a file. "Records show you declined intervention pending liability status." "That's procedural context. That's delay." Keller's voice rose. "Watch your tone." The chairman cut in coldly. "Watch your future." In the sedan, Nancy was taken to a private office tower overlooking the city. No signs, no reception desk noise. Quiet money. Park led her into a conference room. Young-woo Kong stood near the window. He looked pale but steady, one hand resting lightly against the table. No hospital gown now. Dark shirt, controlled presence, the kind of man who made rooms quieter without trying. Nancy stopped a few feet away. "You should be in bed." He looked at her directly. "You should be employed." She blinked once. "So you can talk." "Only when useful." Nancy laughed despite herself. Young-woo motioned to a chair. "Please sit. I'm fine." "As you wish." He remained standing too. For several seconds, neither spoke. Then Young-woo said, "I remember your voice." Nancy's expression softened slightly. "You were nearly unconscious. You sounded angry." "I usually do when people are dying." A faint smile touched his face. "Good." He grew serious. "They told me you violated policy." "I did." "They told me you were reckless." "I wasn't." "They told me you caused chaos." "I caused treatment." Young-woo nodded slowly. "That matches my investigation." Nancy studied him. "Why were you there alone?" His eyes cooled. "Someone expected me not to leave that corridor." She understood enough not to push further. "What happens now?" she asked. "For Silvercrest?" he said. "Reality." At the hospital, reality arrived quickly. Dr. Seo was asked to surrender system credentials. "This is outrageous," she said. "It is temporary," the attorney replied. "You cannot remove me from my own hospital." The chairman corrected her. "It was never yours." Across the hall, Keller was informed that all surgeries under his authority were suspended pending review. "You need me," he barked. A resident passing by muttered, "Apparently not urgently." Keller lunged toward him before security stepped in. Phones captured everything. Within an hour, the clip was online. Back in the tower, Young-woo slid a folder across the table. Nancy opened it. Offer of employment, Senior Trauma Operations Lead, Global Emergency Care Network, compensation that made her reread the page twice. She looked up sharply. "This is absurd." "It is competitive," Jung-woo said. "I don't need charity." "It is not charity." "Then what is it?" "Investment." Nancy held his gaze. "In me?" "In integrity," he said. "You happen to qualify." For the first time since being fired, emotion hit her too hard to hide. She closed the folder slowly. "Why?" Jung-woo answered without hesitation. "Because when everyone around me calculated cost, you calculated life." Silence filled the room. Park politely looked away. Nancy cleared her throat. "I need time." "You have it." "And if I say no?" Jung-woo's expression remained calm. "Then I will still make sure they never do this to another nurse again." Her eyes narrowed. "You really can do that." He looked toward the skyline. "They should not have tested whether I could." Her phone buzzed. Layla had sent one line, SEO resigned, then another. Keller escorted out. Nancy stared at the screen, stunned. Jung-woo noticed. That would be the beginning. If you're still with this story, hit like, subscribe, and comment whether Nancy should accept the offer, because the final chapter changes everything. By afternoon, Silvercrest no longer felt like a hospital. It felt like a crime scene dressed in expensive marble. Employees stood in clusters whispering near elevators. Security checkpoints had doubled. Senior managers carried boxes to waiting cars while pretending they were only reorganizing offices. Every few minutes, another rumor raced through the building and changed shape before it reached the next floor. Nancy sat alone in the tower conference room after Jung-woo stepped out for a medical call. The employment offer remained open in front of her. Senior trauma operations lead, global authority, full autonomy, triple her former salary, relocation support, research budget. It was the kind of offer people chased for 10 years. Yet her hands still shook. Park returned with tea and set it down beside her. "You look troubled." "I was fired yesterday." "And today?" "Today a billionaire offers me a new life." Park nodded. "Fast weeks happen sometimes." Nancy laughed softly. "You always talk like this?" "Only when relaxed." "You don't look relaxed." "I'm improving." She studied the contract again. "Why me, really?" Park answered carefully. "Because Mr. Kang trusts competence, but he values courage more." "People say that when they need symbols." "He does not need symbols," Park said. "He needs people who move when others freeze." Nancy looked away. That landed harder than she expected. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was her mother. "Well?" her mother asked before hello. "Well what?" "Don't play with me. The internet says you became famous overnight." Nancy groaned. "Please tell me you are not reading comments." "I read all comments. Some people are stupid." Nancy laughed for real. "So what now?" her mother asked gently. "I got an offer." "A good one?" "A life-changing one." "Then why do you sound scared?" Nancy stared out the window. "Because I built my identity on surviving hard places. I don't know who I am if life becomes easier." Her mother was quiet for a moment. "Baby, struggle is something you went through. It is not something you owe." Nancy closed her eyes. That sentence broke the last wall inside her. Back at Silvercrest, final board proceedings began. Dr. Seo Hee-rin sat rigidly at one end of the table. Dr. Adrian Keller sat opposite, furious and sweating. The chairman spoke first. "Following internal review, external pressure, and confirmed misconduct findings, both of you are removed effective immediately." Keller shot up from his chair. "You need a surgeon of my caliber." "We need ethics of any caliber," the chairman replied. Dr. Seo's voice was ice. "You are making decisions under intimidation." "No," said the chairman. "We are making them after evidence." She stood slowly. "This institution will regret humiliating me." "No," he said again. "It regretted trusting you." She left without another word. Keller pointed around the room. "You'll beg me back." No one answered. Security escorted him out. Staff watched in silence as the two most feared people in the hospital disappeared through separate exits. Then something unexpected happened. Applause started quietly near reception. One nurse, then another, then 20. By evening, the clip was everywhere. Nancy saw it on Park's tablet when Jung-woo returned. "You didn't have to show me that," she said. "I thought you should know what courage sounds like when it echoes." She looked at him. "You practice lines before saying them?" "No." "Annoying." He almost smiled. Nancy placed the contract on the table. "I have conditions." Park's eyebrows lifted. Jung-woo simply said, "Good." "No ceremonial role. No token hero story. I run trauma systems the right way, even when executives dislike it." "Agreed." "I choose my team." "Agreed." "I want scholarship pathways for nurses from underserved backgrounds." "Done." "I want whistleblower protection written into policy." "Already drafted." Nancy blinked. "You assumed I'd ask?" "I hoped." She looked down, overwhelmed. Then she signed. Park nodded once, as if confirming a mission completed. Nancy set the pen down. "This still feels unreal." Jung-woo answered quietly. "Yesterday was unreal. Today is correction. Weeks later, Nancy walked through the headquarters of the International Emergency Care Network, now under her leadership division. Staff from 6 countries waited in a training auditorium. No gossip, no hierarchy games, no fear in the walls. Layla entered from the side door wearing a new badge. Nancy lit up. "You came. You offered me a better unit and higher pay," Layla said. "I'm brave, not foolish." They hugged tightly. "You saved those logs," Nancy said. "You saved a life first." Nancy stepped onto the stage as applause rose across the room. She saw nurses, medics, surgeons, trainees, people who knew exactly what frontline choices cost. She spoke without notes. "Most systems teach you to protect power before people. We're going to reverse that. If someone is suffering, we move. If policy blocks care, we fix policy. If fear silences truth, we break fear." The room erupted. Near the back entrance, Jungwoo stood unseen beside Park. "You're not going in?" Park asked. "It is her room now. She knows you're here." "I know." Nancy's eyes briefly found him across the crowd. She gave the smallest nod. He returned it, then turned to leave. Park followed. "You enjoy dramatic exits too?" Jungwoo replied, "Only when useful." Months later, Silvercrest rebranded under new management, now studied in business schools as a warning about arrogance, retaliation, and what happens when leadership confuses authority with worth. Nancy's reforms spread across multiple hospitals, anonymous scholarships funded hundreds of nurses, and every year one envelope arrived on her desk containing no message, only a single blank card and a chess piece. She never asked why. She always smiled when it came, because she had learned something no termination letter could erase. Doing the right thing may cost you in the moment, but sometimes that cost is just the price of being moved toward something greater. If this story moved you, hit like, subscribe, and comment. Integrity wins. Share this with someone who needs the reminder that losing one door can open an entire future.